Hey, welcome back. I was thinking, let's do that video that I've always wanted to do. Had the teleprompter out, wrote a big long script and thought, yeah, this is going to be great. And then I looked at it and said, hey, you know what? Let me talk to the people from the heart. So we're going to put the teleprompter away and just talk about it. Today's video is about how to make yourself a better shooter. Really, how to make yourself better. Because 90% of shooters are not in the top 10%. Kind of obvious, a natural truth, if you will. But a big portion of those people want to be in the top 10%. How do they get better? How do you actually get better at your shooting? Well, I'm going to tell you today that there's something holding you back that's slowing you down, making your progression slower, making it harder to get better, and it's going to ruffle some feathers. So hang on to your hat. Here we go. So what is it that's holding you back? Well, I'm going to tell you today, it's the internet. I'm not kidding, guys. The internet. Between all the forums with usernames that you can't identify who's who, to these videos on YouTube, including mine, you may be finding yourself in a situation where you are suffering either paralysis by analysis or worse yet, trying to find consensus on anything, from barrel cleaning to bullet selection to powder charge. I mean, it's just a minefield out here, and you have to be mindful of that minefield. Just because somebody sounds authoritative with the way they wrote a post on some forum, Accurate Shooters, Snipers Hide, Long Range Hunting, or any of the others, much less Facebook, they might give the impression that they have the background to be giving that advice, when in fact they may not. Unfortunately, a lot of the forums allow usernames that are not people's actual names, and that makes it even harder to determine who's who and who is giving the advice. When you take advice from someone with a lot of real-world experience that have a whole wall full of medals and plaques, that's one thing. I mean, if I was going to take advice, I would most definitely want to take it from Bernard from South Africa, who is the current F Open reigning world champion from the 2023 match, rather than the water boy. That was kind of cagey, wasn't it? I mean, realistically, who's going to have the better advice? The guy that's actually winning, or the guy that just wishes he won once in a while? And that's not to mention the nefarious content that's out here. There are trolls in this world. And some of those trolls are top-level shooters that don't want you to learn their secrets so that you can't beat them. And then they tell a convenient lie to lead you the wrong direction. I've seen it happen in real time at matches. So guys, you have to be very careful about who you take advice from. That includes me, because I'm just another shooter. The primary problem that you're going to see more often, instead of nefarious lies, is that shooters are posting that don't necessarily know whether one method is better than the other. Their testing is insufficient. It is scientifically broken. Or worse yet, they just don't compete very much and they've never had any success behind the rifle. So maybe you need to take their advice with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that it's automatically bad because they don't have experience. However, there is a chance that that advice is not necessarily the best advice for you. In the end, your shooting is controlled by what you believe in your head. If you believe, for instance, that you need all this Gucci stuff to shoot well, guess what you're going to need? All that Gucci stuff to shoot well. When in reality, every one of these medals over here on the wall was won with a simple Redding one-piece die and a set of competition shell holders. No $500 dies, no progressive presses, no $1,200 super precise presses. It's an old worn out rock chucker that I bought used 20 years ago. It works just fine. Now, that scale makes my life easier. Don't get me wrong, it's over $1,000 US and I like it. It's kind of like having a Ferrari. A Ferrari is fun, it's nice, it's a status symbol. But if you're in a town with 15-mile-an-hour speed limits and a cop on every corner, well, you might as well be driving a Yugo because you aren't going to go very fast. Thinking of which, I have shot and won matches using a balance beam scale. Do you want to see a test on this channel comparing the outcomes on target between that auto trickler system and an RCBS 505 balance beam scale? Leave a comment below and let me know. By the way, while you're here, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to see more content and have direct access to me to ask questions and participate in live streams, go to my Patreon page. Check it out, see if it's something you'd like. If you want to, I'd appreciate to have you there. We've talked about bad advice, which is either nefarious in nature or just based on inexperience. Now, I'm not trying to shut people down and tell them they can't speak. I am far from that. Everybody has a right to say whatever they want on the internet. It's just up to you to sort it out. And this stuff can sound pretty reasonable when you're reading it or listening to it on a YouTube video. But think about it this way. Not everything on the internet is as obvious as an email from a Nigerian prince. You're going to have to be careful because you end up chasing your tail. Once you have a load that shoots, you try to make it better and keep making it better and keep making it better. And you lose the stability in your system. Once you lose stability, you never have anything that you can rely upon, nothing that you really know intimately when you're out there shooting. Every time you change velocities, guess what? Your wind calls change just a little bit. Now, that little bit could be very minuscule, but under the right conditions, it can be the difference between a 10 and a 9 in F-class or a hit or a miss in PRS. So chasing is one of the things that the internet causes. Why does it cause that? Well, the first is the overabundance of content. Because YouTube, where we are right now, rewards creators like me for making endless amounts of content. Repeated content, slightly changed content, just more and more and more content. We just keep churning stuff out. Do I need to change my seating depth? How about if I chase a lens? How about if I don't chase a lens? What if I push the bullet further into the case? What if I, seat my primers deeper? What if I seat them looser? What if I don't seat them at all? What if I use a different primer? How about my neck tension? Maybe I should lube my necks. All of that is very simply instability. Every time you change one thing, you destabilize your system. If your system is not providing adequate precision and accuracy, then you obviously need to change something. But if it's providing adequate precision and accuracy and the limitation is your input to the system, by all means, stop moving stuff and go practice. YouTube is using my content to sell the time in front of your eyeballs. YouTube is advertising at its very core. Worse yet, there are more and more companies that are trying to get me to advertise for them to sell you stuff. I mean, things like fake eyelashes and garden gnomes and whatever else. I mean, I get emails literally daily about that stuff. If you want to see a video on all the outlandish crap they've tried to get me to put in my videos, leave a comment below. I'll make one for you. Likewise, there are, sponsored content events. Little things. Now, I bought these with my own money from Midway USA. No, they are not a sponsor. I just bought it from them. The reason I have them in my hand is to show you something. The simple truth is, when you're looking at YouTube and you're seeing product review after product review after product review on product after product after product, you get the impression that you got to buy more and more expensive and more expensive and more expensive stuff. Like a $500 sizing die. Think about it this way. If I spend $1,000 for a scale and an auto trickler or more, that's $1,000 that I can't spend on barrel time and components to go practice. That's more than half a barrel's worth of experience shooting in conditions that I could have instead of a auto trickler. And every piece of equipment on this bench is that same trade-off. So when you think about it, you can either practice or you can have Gucci stuff. Well, for me, practice has been much more successful in getting better. Just a thought. Because practice at its core is a series of experiences that teach you how to innovate. They teach you how to improvise and how to adapt to conditions. Because it is that ability to improvise and adapt in real time during a match that makes the difference in your outcome. It's not always going to be dead calm and sunny when you go to shoot. Sometimes it's howling out there. And you have to have a plan. Maybe it's switching rapidly. Maybe it's fishtailing, either headwind or tailwind. Maybe it's just snapping the flags from 90 degrees off. Having seen that before is going to be a major advantage when you go to shoot in those conditions in a big match. Because getting on the podium is simply a matter of getting the experiences you need so you know how to deal with the conditions so that you can perform under the worst possible conditions. Now, there's much more to this discussion, but I don't want to waste a bunch of your time. I've already been in front of this camera for far too long. The key here is to quit taking all the advice you get on the internet because, it's not all good. It's up to you to try to determine what information on the internet is information and what is disinformation, and how that applies to your shooting, and whether what works for one person, maybe what works for me, is going to work for you, or if you need to vary a little bit, because those slight variations from person to person are a matter of personal technique. And I have seen a multitude of personal techniques that work exceptionally well for the user. There is no right and wrong. Anybody that tells you you're doing it wrong is probably not experienced enough to know that there's multiple ways to do it right. So guys, go out there, get some practice, be patient with yourself, learn how to shoot in conditions, and buy Gucci gear if you like it, but realize that you don't absolutely need it in order to be competitive. And until next time, shoot straight. I'll see you in the next video.